Hey guys, my name's Alyssa and this is Murder She Crocheted, the podcast where we unravel dark truths, sometimes one thread at a time. Today's episode is a tough one. It's a story of heartbreak, deception, and one mother's relentless pursuit of justice in the face of overwhelming odds. We're diving deep into the case of Walter Collins, a little boy who vanished in Los Angeles in 1928. What followed was a twisted tale of corruption, betrayal, and the devastating impact of a system that failed at every turn. This case is closely tied with the Wineville chicken coop murders, some of the most horrific crimes in California history, and a legacy of a mother who refused to be silenced. This is a story about loss, about power, about that power being used to cover up the truth, and about a woman who stood up to an entire system because she believed her son deserved more. As always, if you need to take breaks, please take care of yourself first, or we'll see you in a different episode. Before we dive into today's case, let's take a moment to ground ourselves with this week's crochet project. This week, I'm working on a boho headband. It's a quick and easy project, perfect when your brain needs a breather. You'll need a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook and some worsted weight yarn. I'm using Big Twist and a tapestry needle to weave in your ends. The free pattern is by Handmade with Lisa, and as always, the link is in the show notes. There are two options on this pattern, the skinny version and the wide version. Today I'm going to make the wide version. Now, with yarn in hand, let's begin. In March of 1928, a 9-year-old Walter Collins vanished from his Los Angeles neighborhood, igniting a case that shocked the nation. What began as a desperate search for a missing child spiraled into a sensational scandal involving police corruption, a cruel impostor, and one of California's most horrifying serial murder cases, the Wineville chicken coop. Christine Collins, Walter's mother, waged a tireless battle for truth and justice that spanned decades. The Walter Collins case remains a haunting reminder of the failings of law enforcement, the dangers of systemic corruption, and a mother's relentless pursuit for answers. So let's talk a little bit about the family. Walter Conrad Collins was born September 23rd, 1918 in Los Angeles, California, to Christine Ida Collins and Walter J. Collins. Walter J. Collins was a convict, and his birth name was Walter Joseph Anson. Christine worked as a telephone operator and was raising Walter largely on her own, as her husband was serving time at Folsom State Prison for running a speakeasy. Christine was considered a devoted and attentive mother. She was determined to provide her son with a stable life despite their modest means. Christine was described as a handsome woman with prominent features, as well as a professional woman who prided herself on maintaining a non-emotional, business-like manner when dealing with men in authority. She was described as intelligent, no nonsense, and dignified. She didn't cry in front of the cops. She didn't crumble. And that's exactly what made men like LAPD Captain J.J. Jones lose their minds. Christine and Walter Jr. lived in Lincoln Heights. That was a working class area in East LA. Walter was described as sweet, shy, and well-behaved. He loved animals, was obsessed with movies, and never really caused trouble. His mother doted on him and did her best to give him a stable, loving home, despite their circumstances. On the afternoon of March 10th, 1928, Walter asked his mother for money to go to the nearby movie theater. Christine gave her son a few cents for the outing, expecting him to return by sunset. Dressed in a lumberjack, brown corduroy trousers, black Oxfords, and a gray cap, he set off to see a movie in the Mount Washington neighborhood of Los Angeles. Walter never came home. And before you come for her, you guys, this was the 1920s. Kids ran everywhere. alone, walked home, and the adults didn't automatically assume the worst. Christine did report him missing to the LAPD 5 days later on March 15th, but when she did go to the police, she got the full runaround. The initial response from law enforcement was sluggish. At the time, LAPD was embroiled in multiple scandals, including accusations of corruption, brutality, and incompetence. In addition to the accusations that they were already facing, the city was still reeling from the kidnapping and gruesome murder of a 12-year-old girl named Marion Parker that happened 3 months prior. Though the department eventually initiated a massive search for Walter, leads were few and far between. Eventually, though, tips started coming in from as far away as San Francisco and Oakland. One of the most bizarre tips was somebody claiming they saw the boy at a Glendale gas station in the back seat of a car with his body wrapped in newspaper and only his head visible. The police faced lots of negative publicity and increasing public pressure to solve the case. Neighbors reported seeing Walter at various locations, and rumors abounded. Some believe Walter had been kidnapped by an enemy of his father, while others suspected that he may have been abducted for ransom. Despite the wide press coverage and frantic efforts by Christine, Walter remained missing. 5 months after Walter's disappearance, a boy claiming to be Walter was found in DeKalb, Illinois. The boy told police that he was Walter and he wanted to return to his mother in California. LAPD Captain J.J. Jones, eager for a public relations victory to restore the department's tarnished name, seized the opportunity to close the case. It was an apparent coup for the LAPD, who had routinely suffered bad press, and whose chief, James Davis, who is famous and now infamous for having created the 50-man gun squad, who was used to go after the city's criminal element with the express command to bring in the crooks dead, not alive. Letters and photographs were exchanged, and Christine Collins was overjoyed by the news. She paid $70 for the boy's travel back to Los Angeles. But when they met at the train station, Christine immediately insisted the boy was not her son. Captain Jones, however, disregarded her concerns. He suggested that Christine was maybe hysterical, traumatized, or unable to recognize her own child due to stress. He convinced her to take the boy home on a trial basis. Like he was a pair of shoes that you weren't sure were going to fit quite right. Swear to God. So for nearly 3 weeks, Christine attempted to care for the boy while documenting physical discrepancies between him and her son. Walter had been tall for his age, and this boy was smaller. Christine found it suspicious that the boy was 1 inch shorter than Walter, and she used dental records to prove that this was not her son. Christine told the police, quote, "Yes, he looks like Walter, and in some ways he acts like my son, but I'm still not certain about it. You see, Walter was quiet and well-behaved. He always calls me mother. This child calls me ma, and at times is hard to handle. I certainly hope he is my son, but somehow I cannot bring myself to believe it." End quote. Walter had specific marks, and the impostor lacked those marks. Christine gathered affidavits from friends and Walter's school and records to prove her claims. Collins unwittingly initiated what would become a veritable media storm, which ended in a court fight that lasted over a decade and a new state law, but never definitively resolved, at least for her, what happened to Walter. The police fixated on closing the case because of public pressure and insisted that it was Walter. They conducted a series of tests to prove the boy was Walter. They had the boy find his way back home from memory and brought Walter's pet dog, who allegedly recognized the boy as his owner. Still, Christine was not convinced. Frustrated by Christine's persistence, Captain Jones accused her of trying to humiliate the LAPD. Allegedly, he told Christine, "What are you trying to do? Make fools out of us all? Are you trying to shirk your duty as a mother and have the state provide for your son? You are the most cruel-hearted woman I have ever known, and you are a fool." Christine said that Jones went on to call her a bad mother, and then Captain Jones had her committed to the Los Angeles County General Hospital Psychiatric Ward on September 8th under Code 12, which was a catch-all designed to be used to silence individuals deemed difficult or inconvenient. Now, this man put her in a psych ward because she said, "That's not my son." Collins testified that Jones told her, "You're insane and ought to be in the madhouse. You're under arrest, and I'm going to send you to the psychopathic ward." Now, at this time, a popular Presbyterian minister named Gustav Brigleb took up her cause. His disgust with the LAPD was legendary, and this just added to it. While Christine was institutionalized, I swear to God, the boy confessed. Captain Jones questioned the boy, and he said his real name was Arthur Hutchins. He was a 12-year-old runaway from Iowa. Arthur admitted that he had impersonated Walter to escape an unhappy home life. According to Arthur, when police initially asked him if he was Walter, he said no. While Christine was fighting the LAPD, a separate but horrifying case was unfolding east of Los Angeles in Riverside County in a rural area known as Wineville. In September of 1928, authorities arrested Gordon Stewart Northcott, a 21-year-old Canadian immigrant, for a series of brutal murders at his family's chicken ranch. I don't trust chickens. That's a story for a different day. The investigation began when Sanford Clark, Northcott's 15-year-old nephew, escaped from the ranch and revealed to authorities that he had been held captive and forced to assist Northcott in the kidnapping, sexual abuse, and murder of multiple young boys. Sanford's harrowing testimony detailed how Northcott lured boys to the farm, killed them, and then disposed of their bodies. Northcott had driven up to his sister Winifred's house in Saskatoon and talked her into letting him take Sanford to work on the farm. Seems innocent enough. According to Sanford, Northcott had a pattern of kidnapping and murdering boys and then dissolving their bodies in quicklime. When investigators got to the farm, both Northcott and his mother, who lived there, had fled. At the property, the police found blood-soaked ground and bodily remains all over the ranch. The crimes were known as the Wineville chicken coop murders because the bodies were often buried in or near the farm's chicken coops. Now, during questioning, Sanford Clark told the police that Walter Collins had been one of the boys murdered at the ranch. His description of Walter's appearance and clothing matched what Christine had provided to the LAPD. Sanford also looked at 30 victims to hopefully identify other missing boys, and he positively identified Walter Collins. Northcott denied killing Walter after he was apprehended, but his mother, Sarah Louise Northcott, confessed to murdering the boy herself with an axe and then burying him in the chicken coop, claiming she had to protect her son, which is disgusting, and you are a piece of shit. Sarah Louise was sentenced to life in prison, and Gordon Northcott was convicted of 3 other murders and then executed in 1930 in San Quentin State Prison. Now, trial testimony showed that Walter Collins had been sexually molested for days by Gordon Northcott and then murdered by Gordon, his mother Sarah, and key witness Sanford Wesley Clark. Walter was murdered while he slept in the chicken coop at Wineville, allegedly. Not only was the testimony accurate and provable, partial body parts and bits of clothing that Walter had worn were discovered in the exact located grave at the Wineville chicken coop. The state of California concluded that Walter Collins was dead. Testimony indicated that Walter's body was pulled from its grave at Wineville, taken out into the desert at night, and burned to ashes by both Gordon and his mother in a successful attempt to eliminate the bodies. Despite these confessions, authorities never really located Walter's actual remains. This left a shadow of doubt over the case, and Christine wasn't having it. She corresponded with Gordon and received permission to interview him shortly before his execution. Christine went to San Quentin on the eve of the execution, but there Gordon backpedaled, saying, "I don't want to see you. I don't know anything about it. I'm innocent," and just refused to see her. Gordon also left several notes in his cell, some saying that he'd never met Walter, some accusing Gordon's father of the kidnapping and murdering the boy. But Gordon was a pathological liar, and it's impossible to know if what Gordon said was true and what was fabricated. Christine Collins was never satisfied with the explanations provided by the police or the courts. She continued to believe that her son might still be alive and continued searching for him until her death in December of 1964 at 75 years old. Some of the other theories include Walter J. Collins believed that maybe his former fellow inmates may have kidnapped Walter for revenge. He was serving time, like I said, at Folsom Prison. And at first, I was told that it was because of running a speakeasy, but then other sources said that it was for a robbery. So I don't know if it was one or the other or both. The elder, Walter, worked at the prison cafeteria at the time, and his responsibilities included reporting the violations of other inmates. So because of this, he could have had quite a few enemies. The aftermath and Christine Collins' legacy are kind of astounding. Christine Collins became a symbol of maternal perseverance. She symbolized the fight against the corruption in Los Angeles. Her legal battle against the LAPD was a landmark case exposing the systemic abuse of power. Her refusal to accept the lies fed to her by law enforcement underscored the strength and determination of a mother fighting for her child's life and her child's dignity. Her misfortunes became big news in California, with headlines such as "New Kidnapping Clue and Hunt for Missing Collins Boy," or "Mother Sues City and Police for $500,000. Also, in the wake of her incarceration, the California legislature passed a bill that prohibited the police from throwing a person into a psychiatric facility without a warrant. Which, thank God, because what the hell? Wineville, tainted by its association with the horrific murders, changed its name to Miraloma in 1930 in an effort to distance itself from the notoriety. Gordon Stewart Northcott's crimes remain among the most gruesome in California history, and Walter's case remains more or less unsolved if you don't believe what was said in court. Now, there was a movie made about this situation called Changeling. Film stars like Angelina Jolie as Christine Collins and John Malkovich as the Reverend Gustav Briglib. They took up Collins' cause, more or less. Collins' story was literally unearthed out of a city and court archives by a journalist turned screenwriter named J. Michael Straczynski. He had been tipped off by a former source to transcripts from the city council hearing about the Collins case. He said, quote, "I was so caught up by the raw, naked courage she showed that she fought so hard for her son, and nobody remembers it. It's outrageous," says Straczynski. So many of Collins' travels, he said, stem from the fact that she was a woman that didn't conform to what men, in this case the LAPD, expected her to be like. During his research, he said everyone around her had an agenda, a political agenda, a personal agenda, but the only clear voice in the entire story was hers. The disappearance of Walter Collins is a case built on injustice, cover-ups, and systemic failure, but it's also a story of resilience. Christine Collins may not have lived to see justice served, but her strength, her voice, and her refusal to be silenced lives on. Though the details may have faded into the folds of time, its commentary on corruption and abuse of authority, on female empowerment, and the ultimate price of justice continues to echo throughout the canyons of LA's collective memory, said the LA Times. All right, guys, so thanks for spending time with me today. If you were crocheting along, I hope that this gave you a space to reflect and process and maybe even rage a little, because Christine deserved better. Next week, we'll dig into another case, and there's going to be another free crochet pattern. Here is my finished product of the headband that we made today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If not, I'll post it on my social media. I also really would love it if you guys posted pictures of your creations on social media. I want to see what you guys are making. I know that you're creative, and what you guys do inspires me as well. We're on all social media at Murder She Crocheted, except for Twitter is MSC Pod. So my light just died, but we're gonna roll with it. Now, if you have pattern suggestions, case suggestions, listener submissions, any of those things, please email them to me at murdershecrocheted@gmail.com. I want to hear from you on that side too. So, all that being said and all my rambling over, I will see you next time. And until then, stay crafty and stay creepy.